There are many that dream of flying, of escaping from the pack and finding the place where one has the freedom to turn and soar and sweep the skies with outstretched wings. For those that follow their dreams, the world is a much different place. A desert valley seems like a vast ocean of air into which you and your airplane must immediately dive. A column of clouds becomes a post around which one must roll and turn. Those that fly also know the dangers. They know that there are inescapable boundaries separating what is safe from what will kill. They train, though, to recognize those boundaries, to stay safely within the margins that will bring them home to fly another day. For it is true that airplanes will go out of control, and it is true that staying in control is another challenge of flight. Pilots have lost control of airplanes since the very first days of flight. Stalls, spins, and unusual attitudes have long challenged new and experienced aviators alike. The wrong angle of bank, too much pitch, too little airspeed, equipment failures, or any combination of these or dozens of other conditions often leads to an airplane desperately out of control. Although well understood, one of the most perplexing out-of-control situations is the PIO, shorthand for pilot-induced oscillations. PIOs invariably start with some ordinary control input that for some reason triggers a chain of events that leaves the airplane almost completely uncontrollable, jerking up and down perilously close to a stall. They are perplexing because they come on without any warning, and they strike with startling velocity. The recovery? Freeze the stick slightly aft of neutral. all so perplexing and poorly understood, are wingtip vortices. What is well known is that they are tremendously powerful and easily able to flip over the largest commercial transports and tear the wings off smaller planes. What is not well known is how to avoid them, these swirling tornadoes that drift unseen behind the aircraft from which they have sprung. Few are immune to the unpredictable nature of vortices. Thought largely to be responsible for the crash of the XB-70, vortices likely induced an out-of-control situation that pulled inward the F-104 chase plane and caused it to collide with the bomber's tail. The results were disastrous. Staying in control during mid-air refueling is absolutely essential, and vortices are but one challenge facing the pilot. Wake turbulence, fixation, poor formation flying, and poor boom control are some of the other factors that can lead to a loss of control and a devastating collision. Designing and testing the safest mid-air refueling system took years of trial and error. Today, the telescoping boom and the semi-rigid basket are standard procedure for the Air Force and Navy. In the early years, however, it was not so cut and dry. Engineers experimented with every manner of mid-air connection and commonly varied the refueling stations, often to the frustration of the test pilot. its construction, it was common enough to join up on a tanker only to discover a damaged basket. Under such circumstances, getting gas is exceedingly difficult. Two factors bear consideration, though. First, while trying to connect, a pilot applies his training to maintain a rapid scan of the airspace around him, and thus to avoid basket fixation at the expense of tanker separation. The pilot also watches for the first indications of a wobbly hose and the onset of a vicious sine wave that can snap off the refueling connection. An unusual modification to the KC-135 tanker allows engineers to study the effects of icing on an aircraft. Ice can dramatically change the aerodynamics of the surfaces on which it accumulates, leading to unexpected out-of-controls. In these tests, accumulations are clearly visible and can be easily studied after several minutes in the atomized spray from this nozzle. Perhaps the unsung hero of flight testing is the pilot of the chase plane. It was Chase that alerted the crew of a B-1B bomber to a massive fuel line break precious seconds before it registered on their cockpit instruments. The explosive potential was obvious, but a deadly, destabilizing, out-of-limits center of gravity control problem was just as quickly developing. The bomber landed safely at Edwards, and a brave mechanic, despite the hazard of explosion, climbed through the torrent of gas to close the safety valve. It is Chase that provides critical psychological comfort to a test pilot. It is Chase that gives you the assurances that your plane is sound and that your airspace is clear. It is Chase that provides you with a knowledgeable voice of calm when the situation deteriorates.
Ready? Is main gear touching down now?
Got touchdown, looks real nice. Real good. Slowly keep the nose level. Call out 130 when you get there. You bet. And the nose down just a little bit. Nose down. A little bit more. 140. And the nose down a little bit more. A little bit more. It's real nice. 130. Keep her coming. Keep her coming. Keep her coming. Keep her coming. Nice. Looks real good. Looks perfect. Real nice. No problem.
Okay, it's up to
Don't
you to
forget to
get
cut your
in.
engines.
Flying chase is a skill honed not by instinct, but training. Flying chase is a part of the curriculum at the Flight Test School at Edwards Air Force Base. Chase pilots sharpen their formation flying skills, learn to read the outside of a test aircraft, practice intercepts, and train to deftly manage the often conflicting needs of engineers, controllers, and photographers. It is standard procedure to launch a chase plane with every flight test. In the case of spin testing, Chase will give the test aircraft a once-over between each departure. Chase looks for structural damage that may have occurred during the preceding spin, and then scans the airspace for conflicting traffic as the test ship sets up the next spin. The types of aircraft used for the chase plane are often the same as the test aircraft. This ensures that the chase plane can match the test aircraft's airspeeds and altitudes, and that the test pilot is talking to someone knowledgeable in the test aircraft's systems. Test aircraft often launch with a package of aircraft: a chase plane for observations, a camera ship when Chase isn't flying the cameras, and a tanker for quick aerial refuelings. Both the YF-16 and YF-17 test flights were accompanied by a small fleet of support aircraft. Chase planes are indispensable during in-flight emergencies. Problems tend to come in bunches, and damage to one system often triggers damage to another. Chase pilots are a second set of eyes alertly tuned to the spread of damage. A pilot suffering a gear malfunction knows that an ordinary controlled landing will be impossible, but that a safe landing nonetheless can be achieved. In order to plan that landing, the pilot needs to clearly understand what's wrong. How much damage is there? Is the nose wheel gone, or is the entire assembly missing? Chase is there for the visual inspection, and Chase will stay in formation all the way through the landing rollout, ready to immediately respond in support of the crippled aircraft.
looks like we're settled into it. Now at Rosamond there at 23.7. There's one at 23.2, quite a bit faster this time. Two at 22.7. Three at 22.3. Airspeed's about 44. Going NASA modified. There's five. Neutral, opposite rudder. The yaw rate is picking up a little bit. And we're out of it. Nose pitch down. 1-0 recovered.
A much feared out of control is the spin. A spin develops along certain predictable lines. A wing stalls, causing a loss of lift, which in turn causes the aircraft to fall. During the fall, there is usually some propelling force that starts the aircraft turning. Often it is a vortices coming off a wing that strikes the tail and induces the spin. Spins are unpredictable, and the oscillating motions are extremely disorienting to the pilot. Recoverability of the aircraft is often in doubt. Preparing for a spin test program is both time-consuming and expensive. The test aircraft must be extensively modified. Cameras are mounted on the fuselage facing both forwards towards the nose and backwards towards the tail and the spin chute. Sensors are attached to probes, and data collection and transmitting devices are installed in the radome. Spin recovery devices are critical in a spin test program. Perhaps the most effective device is the spin chute. As the airplane descends, the spin parachute is deployed. The angle of attack is indicated by the chute's shroud lines. As the chute inflates, it pulls the nose of the aircraft into the wind, which reestablishes airflow over the wings. Once the wings have airflow, flight controls will become responsive and the pilot can begin the spin recovery. The chute is jettisoned and the pilot begins the long pull-out, often quickly using 10 to 20,000 feet in the process. The installation of a spin chute is unique to each aircraft. Mortar tests are run to assure chute activation. Artificial wind is used to test the chute's overall effectiveness. Taxi tests and in-flight deployments gradually increase the chute loads. JATO bottles on the wingtips were tried, but their operation was unpredictable and ultimately discarded. Canards forward of the wing root were also developed and have continued in use. The F-4 spin chute has a unique profile. The F-4 is one of the few tactical jets that has a chute already built in, which is used during the landing. The addition of the spin chute took into consideration unobstructed access to the Phantom's drag chute. A more conventional spin chute assembly can be found on the F-15. Much testing of recovery devices was undertaken with the F-14, including a pilot-activated hydraulic canard forward of the canopy. Cockpit cameras provide their own data. In this F-15 spin test, negative Gs are noticeable in several ways. A floating pencil, the inversion of the horizon, and the position of the pilot hanging from the shoulder harness. A unique oscillation in the F-15 spin was discovered, and it is now known as auto roll. The aircraft breaks into the spin and then begins a series of 360-degree rolls. Auto roll had not been encountered before to the degree it happens with the F-15. The F-4 underwent an extensive spin program. Cameras were mounted both internally and externally, with both tracker cameras and chase cameras recording each flight. A wide range of variables were tested in this program. Different modes of entry into the spin, different configurations of external stores, different modes of recovery, and other variables. chute is deployed when all else has failed. Because it is one of the last options selected by the pilot, the spin is usually well developed. Bank angles between 60 degrees, left and right. The aircraft is spinning at 80 degrees a second. The angle of attack is as much as 80 degrees. And the plane is plummeting 21,000 feet per minute. The violent wind forces on the spin chute and the chute's tendency to wrap around the tail were well photographed during the F-4 program. Spin programs are costly, and only one aircraft typically undergoes the time-consuming series of modifications. The F-4 entered its final flight with what appears to be a compressor stall during the break. The puffs behind the engine and the flickers that follow are traits of such stalls. Attempts to recover were made. However, it is likely that any possibility of success was lost at the onset of the compressor stall. The pilot and the backseater successfully ejected. The aircraft impacted less than a minute later, thus ending the F-4's spin test program. Spin recovery in the T-37 has elements in common with spin recovery in any fighter. After departure, the pilot holds neutral stick, then sharply pushes the aircraft forward, quickly pulling the stick back to neutral so not to continue into a negative G stall, and applying power. This gets the nose down and rebuilds precious lift.
Coming to mill now. Okay. You're clear to go. Roger, cleared. Okay, there it goes. Okay, full forward and centered. 12 dampers coming off. Okay, it's spinning. That's a spin. Okay, it's a spin. Yeah. Okay, now go ahead. It looks like a spin to the right. Yeah. Opposite rudder. Full rudder. Reporting some of the full. Okay. All right, it's going to break. Here it comes. 28,000. Sure. 26 now. 26. Okay. Wait a minute. Keep the stick forward. 24. Going back into the spin, I think. Yeah, I think it is. All right. 22, deploy the spin chute. Now it's covered. You got it. Deploy the spin chute. The spin chute deployed. Chute failed off. You got it. Chute failed. You got it. 16. Get out, Pete. 14. Eject.
With the many dangers associated with it, why does the military invest so much time, money, and effort in spin testing? The answer is combat. Defeating the enemy places unique demands on aircraft and crew. Safety and saving lives is the ultimate benefit passed along to frontline squadrons from the study and understanding of out-of-control situations. The price of a lost aircraft is a small price to pay indeed, when the very survivability of a flight crew is at stake.
Das heißt aber, das Flugzeug, selbst wenn es vorher auf Autopilot gestellt ist, und das ist es in dem Fall, es ist eine Boeing 737, muss jetzt doch noch irgendwie, also es muss noch was gedrückt werden.
Es sind eine Menge Sperren eingebaut, die verhindern, dass der Computer sich selbstständig macht. Zum Beispiel wird das Flugzeug nie von sich aus die Reiseflughöhe verlassen, solange der Pilot nicht eine niedrigere Flughöhe anwählt. Das Flugzeug wird eine Meldung geben, es wird also sagen, gib mir bitte eine niedrigere Höhe. Wenn das nicht eintritt, wird die Geschwindigkeit verringert und das Flugzeug fliegt bis zu dem Endpunkt der programmierten Strecke.
Also das heißt, wenn man ihn jetzt einfach fliegen lassen würde, würde es so lange fliegen, bis der Sprit zu Ende ist und dann runterfallen?
Das würde zunächst mal bis zu dem Punkt fliegen, wo die Route endet und von da aus mit der letzten Richtung einfach weiterfliegen, bis der Sprit alle ist.
Dann schlage ich vor, wir müssen das gleich mal durch eine Werbung unterbrechen, weil wir sonst wahrscheinlich nicht pünktlich runterkommen, dass Sie aber jetzt mal anfangen, mit ihm zu sprechen. Er Habe Kerkeling vorher noch nie in so einem Cockpit auch gewesen, also absoluter Neuling.
Ja, hinzu kommt, ich habe Flugangst und dementsprechend ist es fürchterlich hier vorne zu sitzen, auch wenn es nur ein Simulator ist. Ich baue auf Sie, Herr Pfitzner.
Ja, Herr Kerkeling, ich habe natürlich auch Angst um Sie. Und ich hoffe, dass Sie meinen Anweisungen aber ganz genau Folge leisten.
Wobei der Herr Pfitzner jetzt nur auf so ein Bild schauen kann, wo er ein ganz normales Cockpit als Standbild bekommt. Denn er würde ja auch nicht direkt eine Kamera haben im Cockpit, wenn das sozusagen jetzt tatsächlich mal so passieren würde.
Ja, Herr Kerkeling, dann fangen wir mal an.
Ja.
Und werden jetzt das Flugzeug für die Landung so weit vorbereiten, dass eine automatische Landung erfolgen kann.
Ja.
Dazu ist natürlich eine Menge Handgriffe erforderlich, denn der Computer kann sicherlich nicht das Fahrwerk ausfahren oder die Klappen setzen. Und das werden wir jetzt erstmal in aller Ruhe machen. Sie sehen bei sich im Cockpit eine Menge Anzeigen. Direkt vor Ihnen
In der Tat, eine ganze Menge.
Ja, vor Ihnen ist ein Flachbildschirm mit einem künstlichen Horizont. Der ist sehr einfach dadurch zu erkennen, dass die obere Hälfte blau ist und die untere braun. Das ist also der Himmel und die Erde und dazwischen ist eine Trennlinie.
Und das sind
und das ist
wir.
der Horizont.
Ach so.
Und direkt links daneben auf dem Bildschirm ist eine Geschwindigkeitsanzeige in einem kleinen Kasten.
Ja, was so aussieht wie so ein Thermometer.
Ja, und da sollte jetzt eigentlich in der Situation, in der Sie sich befinden und die wir hier als Ausgangssituation
Jetzt bewegt
spielen,
sich das hier, ja.
das ist sehr gut, das heißt, der Autopilot funktioniert noch. Da sollte sich die Zahl 210
Richtig,
befinden.
steht da.
Und das ist auch sehr gut.
Meine Glückszahl.
Ja, im Augenblick sicherlich, aber für die Landung wäre das etwas zu schnell. Und wir können nicht einfach die Geschwindigkeit verringern, ohne die Klappen zu setzen. Die Klappen werden gesetzt mit einem Hebel, der sich neben den großen Leistungshebeln, beschriftet mit 1 und 2, auf der rechten Seite befindet.
Habe ich gefunden.
Und da steht Flaps drauf.
Flap.
Das heißt lediglich Landeklappen auf Englisch.
Muss ich das jetzt anfassen oder lieber nicht?
Machen wir gleich. Auf der
Machen wir
linken
gleich.
Seite ist ein Hebel.
Wo? Von wo links?
Links neben den Leistungshebeln ist ein Hebel, da steht Speedbrake drauf.
Richtig, Speedbrake.
Ja, Sie kennen sich ja jetzt im Cockpit schon fantastisch aus.
Geschwindigkeitsbremse. Es sieht ein bisschen aus wie eine
Ja.
Ente.
So, das Wichtigste für Sie ist das kleine Bedienpanel, das sich unterhalb des Fensters in Augenhöhe befindet.
Das?
Ich
Hier,
kann das
wo
leider
Approach-
nicht.
Approach
Nein,
Ref?
Darf's nicht sehen.
ich kann das ja leider nicht.
Approach Ref?
Ich kann das ja leider nicht sehen.
Das kleine, wo
Es ist ein
Approach-
ganz flaches Panel, knapp eine Hand breit.
Sagen Sie mal warm, kalt oder so.
Nee, er sieht ja nicht
ach
bei
so, er
euch
sieht gar
rein.
nicht.
Ich würde Ihnen ja gerne
sagen Sie es
über
mir
die
noch
Schulter schauen, aber
Nee,
wenn
darf
Sie
er
mal
nicht.
nach vorne schauen, in der Mitte, direkt unter dem Fenster, ist ein längliches Bedienpanel. Da sind viele Knöpfe drauf
Ja,
und viele Zahlen.
ja.
Und da steht zum Beispiel IAS, Mach. Und darunter 210.
Mach, ja, da steht's.
210.
Ja, hab ich.
Das ist die vorgewählte Geschwindigkeit, die Sie mit dem Knopf, der da drunter ist, verändern können.
Ja, mache ich das jetzt oder nicht?
Das machen wir jetzt gleich mal, und zwar Erst nehmen wir diesen Klappenhebel, mit Flaps bezeichnet, etwas hoch.
Den? Also diesen Flap soll ich jetzt ziehen?
Den heben Sie etwas an, bewegen ihn nach hinten.
Beschreiben Sie mal genau heben, nicht, dass
Ich
es
schlage
gleich
vor,
sonst macht.
angesichts der Begriffsstutzigkeit machen wir jetzt mal eine kurze
Ja,
Unterbrechung.
sitz hier
Wir
mal,
hoffen, dass der
Günther.
in 4 Minuten noch nicht abgestürzt ist und sind dann
Okay,
gleich
Herr
wieder da.
Kerkeling, diesen
Herr Kerkeling bemüht sich. Bitte.
Den Hebel anheben,
Mach
nach
ich
hinten
jetzt.
bewegen
Hinten
und in die
heißt zu mir.
Eine brillante Idee klingt am Anfang selten brillant. Sie klingt albern, weil sie anders ist.